the owner of EMP is the brother of the president. Nothing wrong with that. He's a legitimate business. Coincidentally, I've worked in the mines before, and I left the mines in 2003. And before then, he was already in the mines working. Right. So there's no question about the legitimacy of his business.
Engineers and Planners has been one of the companies that has been in the mining sector for, if not more than 30 years, for a number of years. And when it comes to capacity, experience, we all know it has that. Yeah. And it was emotion. So you can't come.
Optics has a lot to do with the behavior and the conduct.
When you say the behavior, that is very wrong. Ibrahim Mahama is one of the most generous.
Indeed, there's no argument
towards everybody. In fact, I can say that he's more even generous to public than even his family.
Engineers and Planners, Ibrahim Mahama, the company, finally, after tender review committee at National, 93.15%, and Ibrahim Mahama company, I secure.
And then when you go to technical and engineering experience, you will see that disparity in the bank. EMP demonstrated clearly that they were up to, or they had the experience to be able to do the job as opposed to Heath Goldfields 18.4%. When it comes to methodology and work plan, we scored EMP 9 out of 10, Heath Goldfields 6.2 out of 10. On the qualification, EMP had 9.6, Heath Goldfields had 9.2. You will see that it was a close mark in the sense that these are all entities in the mining sector, so they all have the same or have similar qualified professionals. So that's why the score is a bit close. And the requirement that you must show evidence that you have access to funding in excess of 500 million USD. EMP demonstrated that by documentation that showed that at least Tambik and APSA have committed to funding the operations to the tune of 505 million USD. Based on the requirements, the guidelines published, EMP met all the requirements, they satisfied the mandatory requirements, they met, able to demonstrate that they had the technical and financial capability to be able to run the operations of the mine when it is given to them.
Based on Regulation 2621C of LI 2176, which says that preparation of a report on the outcome of the tender process should be submitted to the commission. It has been submitted to the acting CEO of the Minerals Commission. Now we are at the stage of Regulation 263 of LI 2176, where there will be a transmission of the report to the minister. On receipt of the report of the tender committee, the commission shall recommend to the minister to grant the mineral rights to the successful tenderer. At this stage, I am transitioning from chairman of the tender committee to the representative of the CEO of the Minerals Commission with the full powers he has vested in me. I am handing over the report based on Regulation 263 of LI 2176 to the ministry. So that is where we are now. Please, all the mineral, if we have other mineral commission, deputy CEO, you can join me, and then we hand over this to the ministry.
Shortly after the handing over, we shall now take your questions.
So I'm giving it to the chief director of the ministry. Thank you.
Now, way abe historic companies no na enye baako na enye mienu na enye miensa. Way to help clear omo the mindset say John Dramani Mahama ni nua ntitinti na twan abusuan chamfa family property family and friends and the dino ya to no bebrebe Ibrahim Mahama company one Vortex Resources Mining Group, Engineers and Planners Ltd, Heath Goldfields Ltd, and Maripoma Mining Services Ltd. Now Maripoma, no, apart from Rose now, you know, or mining. Hey, go for Pesicaso Ghana. Oh, Ghana, no, this is 2% be pay. I wanna Sikana Ghana, you know, net you. Go away road construction. And no grab above from Conse one road now, you know. Yes, I'm more. Bakubia Saka, 1 million. Oh, the go over your workforce we want accident. But companies ready now, a for Damang Mining Company Limited. Now, Ibrahim Mahama, according to technical and commercial score, just say, I have for no a Philip Papano. And I'm de some magic kakra wi nti e de yasimu fili no da man for nankasa you to know ese chairman mo fama Ghana ni no Ibrahim Mahama ono betima ye aduma na kama ono an ye pe ye wie ye no omo tena ahwe machinery se mfidi a ye de ba ebe ye aduma wan na won dodo wan na betima tu wan na wo history when it come to mining na we gwa na me say fine JB, my find another thing here about this Ibrahim Mahama, the engineers and planners when it comes to that mine. Sana or no, Anna A2 Adiano, Edema different company. Send a go face 1 and 2. Or no, Anna A2 with the machines. Or no, you manu. Adama a go face for no. It is a go face for someone you no more. Of course. Now, bra penny wo fie na papa wu a na ese ajapade no bi he dia wan be he de bra penny ya na efa eti papa ne se onu ahwe adwuma no oya o sa peda mine no atoa so na this time around why as owner na when you say ye de call that level ye tender obi a company bia mfa ne message mra de enti a ono sa company no ese ye dane some mining side, Damang mining side, no, the man. Obia the need buy. Vortex for the buy. Heath Goldfields for the buy. Engineers and Planners the buy. And Maripoma Mining Services Ltd. So the only buy. You will not Ibrahim Mahama. The Engineers and Planners and a score of 93.15%. So still, until say now say family property. And there is a Mijama Kwajwadi. Because we really. Papa no we win 93% we say A+ home. A+. We win handsomely. We na hwe yi. Na we na de insem foforo eba because among for say omo questions. E bi say omo ni questions. The tender committee on the Damang mine say based on regulation 263 of the LI 2176 where there will be a transmission of the report to the minister. Omun ente ome transmit sa report na aba chese Ibrahim Mahama ni company ya score 93.15% say on only Damang mines no omo de bama the lands and natural resources minister Emmanuel Kofi Amaboa na waje na okenkan bi no no ati say finally it is done 4 companies and a tender by engineers and planners and a standing tall both from the commercial level and a technical level. Now I know and of course I didn't come over. When did you say among 4 questions? Every day a question mark, every day so your answers. According to Michael Kosi Dede Ese or Asemka, I say the optics are not good for engineers and planners. And President John Dramani Mahama.
What I guess a lot of us ask questions about is the proprietary in all of this. Because this wouldn't become discussion if we hadn't seen certain things. And certain.
What are these things that you
One, the owner of EMP is the brother of the president. Nothing wrong with that. He's a legitimate business. Coincidentally, I've worked in the mines before, and I left the mines in 2003. And before then, he was already in the mines working. Right. So there's no question about the legitimacy of his business. What we unfortunately are seeing is that we are not separating government clearly from private business.
Okay.
And I'll want to, that is why this becomes topical. Why? The presidency is not a private office.
True.
It is a public office.
True.
So suddenly when government comes into office and the brother of the president seems to be doling out gifts and offering services to the presidency without any limitations, then acquires a mine, then everybody is going to say, oh, was this part of the deal? Those are the things. The optics don't look good. And I want to go back to the code of conduct that the NDC itself released in 2025. I just released what the president himself put out. Let me just, allow me to read that. This is the president, this is a message from the president. It says, it's good governance, transparency and accountability form the foundation of strong partnership between state and society as well as among citizens. They are interconnected principles that create government that is legitimate, effective and widely supported by citizens. It is under this umbrella that we as public office holders must constantly be mindful that public confidence in government institutions is vital to democracy. This principle should therefore guide our daily actions and decision-making process. Now, the president then says he will submit to this code.
Right.
Now, I'll go to section 1.5 of that code, which talks about conflicts of interest.
Okay.
And then he says that conflict of interest may exist where a minister, personal or private interest is likely to conflict with or in conflict with the functions of his or her office. For example, a conflict may arise if a minister holds a significant financial interest in a company with which the government is contracting, has a personal interest in the outcome of a process, or receives a benefit, right or commission in return for providing a benefit. So he says, hence, a conflict of interest may be direct or indirect in nature. Now, you go to 1.5.12, where it talks about gifts and hampers. Now, the president, the code of conduct says that no minister should receive gifts, hampers beyond a certain amount. Now, when your brother offers you the presidential jet for use, does that contradict the code of conduct?
How much is the value?
What is the value? Does that contradict the code of conduct? You understand? So when the president carries himself in that manner and unilaterally accepts that, oh, we are going to use the jet because it saves the state, and I see the government justifying that, I find that worrying, because this is the president who has released a code of conduct for everyone to follow.
I say, the first say Ibrahim Mahama, John Dramani Mahama Niano, one thing. Of course, Ojitum say a businessman, and even before say ni braba be president no, na Damang Mine no, ono na ebua go face for emumutu. What you say? But o say enye Ibrahim Mahama ya, ene ne private jet ko man Ibrahim. Ana ye ka say, hey, papa de uye, dachi asemba ye beka o. Na ochi ni bra, a kam. O se ni na no, chi na here na time. Na eno na ma twen man ne JC amanfo e wo question marks. I'm say, oh, okay. Mate mo sa complain na say because omunu say John Dramani Mahama associate ne ho with ne bra awone na mammo mu a enka bia different. But why associate ne ho ne de asema ba. Ana me busa question say private jet no aw de man ne bra because Ghana mu ni bio na me hu anyanfo a mo ye stubborn sada. Hey, uni kapra ya che 100 Ghana ubo achire. Anso be den. Muni presidential jet ni bi asai. Onyonko se mi wo bi. Mo president emedi. Mama kura opre. Engaze wo Ghana si Ghana wa top private jet ni bi aba bi si ho. Enye sa afi na ye twema foforo ba kwa bai. Enka yi never go top. Ni e honto ye. Papa ba ye ni portrait picture keke on print for mama for so onyo. DSTV keke on subscribe e money appointees so onye o se de Ghana no sika na sa enti kakra ya hu management a ye bebre. The man is trying to save the country. Say mo mo ka foforo mo se mo ntia ase mo mpe. Ah Michael enti enka yen mo ka sika yenim se ye yi a ne yesu yen koyi. Ah sika edidie eno ye disidan. Maza Chewanum no be ye. Na the deputy minister Edema Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, Mohammed Adams. Na minim say, hey, na Sam George no deputy. Hey, ana adwuma no. Hey, na Sam George you adi adwuma nyina you. Because akwa de mention nte nka do. And na mete nka eh. Nyina akwa adwuma de unya binya. Or say it has nothing to do with President Mahama using his brother's jet.
He is somebody that has started this business way back, even before his brother even became the vice president of the republic. It is not because the brother was once a president. He started this business when His Excellency the president was elected president. No, I'm just trying to establish a point. I'm not saying someone else. Engineers and Planners has been one of the companies that has been in the mining sector for, if not more than 30 years, for a number of years. And when it comes to capacity, experience, we all know it has that.
Yeah.
And what is very, very important here is that this whole conversation about the acquisition is not something that started when NDC came to power in 2025. The first process started way back in 2022. That Engineers and Planners initiated an engagement to acquire the mines as early as 2022. That has to be noted. You know, government in 2024 March, at the months before the NDC came to power, actually issue a formal no objection letter for EMP to negotiate the acquisition of shares with Goldfields. So it didn't start now. The process started in the previous government, travel all the way to the time of his brother becoming the president. And so for me, of course, people may be right to raise issues about moral aspect. But then we need to, before you can raise those issues, you need to first of all ask yourself, when did this thing start? It didn't just start when the brother became the president. It started way back. And at every stage, you know, Engineers and Planners was selected to be part of the process. It was not as if probably the previous government raised issues about Engineers and Planners. It was not as if the previous government, at the time the process began, Engineers and Planners was not part. All of a sudden, change your government and Engineers and Planners sadly came in. No, that's not the case. That has to be established before we can, the optics. I know we need to let the optics also know, or the general public know. That is, you know, of course, engineer raised something about the optics. The optics is not good and all of that. When the issue is told, the story is told in this way, of course, nobody will have a problem. And that is the reality. That it started way back before John Dramani Mahama became the president. It has nothing to do with because the brother is a president and because the brother is using his presence, I mean, his jet and what have you. I don't see anything wrong.
You don't see any political influence?
I don't see any political influence in this.
You don't see any favoritism?
You and I, there's no favoritism.
No conflict of interest?
No conflict of interest. I will tell you why. Because the process started before even the, how do you call it, what he read,
the code of conduct.
The code of conduct was put together in 2025. And you couldn't have aborted the process that began before even there's the formation of the government, even that made you put together the. So your brother was in the process of acquiring something. He was, before you even the election came on in 2025. He was elected as a president. That process was in place.
It was in motion. But
it was in motion. So you can't come.
Optics has a lot to do with the behavior and
so
the
now
conduct.
The question, when you say the behavior, that is very wrong. Ibrahim Mahama is one of the most generous.
Indeed, there's no argument
towards everybody. In fact, I can say that he's more even generous to public than even his family.
Whether it have something or it have not something. My question is, indeed, one from the private jets now, Mahama. Now, just now, Mahama person, we have family and friends. Do you think he won't do it? Ninya. Into Oyen in your private jet, as now, what only a property. Say Mahama, and they want 2 million now. That's what so money in go the man. Hey, Gabi Ochedako. MPP no, near who is a home. Nebra be president wie no. Ubu say MPP. Ministers I appoint you more. Na opo obi on the case an yemfa ma wa be ma wo ono. Se Gabi anka bia na enye yi. Who say Gabi e dey private jet e ma na do. Ah? Kufo tiso. Ne say adukufo ana na wosika organ ha pa. Whether say na politics ye na ye dey azumi sao say no kre. What dey say adukufo e ma ne bra je kufo private jet e ma ne tram. Nanka mi be ye no. Me nua no me ma ne ye. Normal. Ghana he si de bia. Ye various offices. Obakono angonani na e boss angonafo na offer. Asante na e boss asante fo na offer. The opopie to so awro ohu oba ana offer no onfa bema. Omo a ugo ni formal school. We me ama mata bra. Mo na duma. Enye se o qualify. Nepotism ne favoritism no estati Ghana ha no ne. Ye ni na ye greet you. But see the way people are pointing their fingers. As a Mahama ye de enye bi da. Miwa ugo do wa chewura no no nimu. Na onu the same area. O jampi obi a no ate de ama na akọ no wosiresere. Say a favor ya ye ni complain bia. And favor ya yay. Jesus Christ ni Mohammed for. Ye nye bone da. But ye ni na se ya na tie. And besides, said the money abre eka Damang mines no. I was wondering, abra or secure black voter mines. Any sankofa mines and the money is as a manager now. Okay, if you grass start free ho. If you start free ho, even the auto free private person and semuno. Ne kasa. And then Damang mines Mahama, Mahama. Monfa Ibrahim no so na nya jo Mahama asem. Ibrahim Mahama, muni na nya. Ne private jet otumfo se tutu. Yusu bi. Enti me pa cho ada asem besie no. Enso belenke otumfo se waye kwakwa bibi wa shantere je ani otumfo na ade ama no because oba ne private jet ana. Hey, momenye serious organ how. Now, according to the deputy road minister, also another minister maintain kakra no deputy for the mo brepa o papa e friend no alasan e friends suini o say our ntechem bi e de magana fonti muntie niye o say before 2022 wey or compare Ghana e bauxite any Damang mines and na man for complain say John Dramani Mahama nti and Ibrahim Mahama enya no or be compare now what scenario ni here we be clear understanding. Before 2022, Ghana's oldest and only active bauxite mine, located in Awaso in the western north region, was owned and operated by the Chinese Bauxite Minerals Group. Yeah, bauxite. Na microphone money nkete no. China for no mumu ebetu. Edisi kanoko. When o tumfo bufu ya na okano. Monfa Ghana for. If you chop some, it go better. Tebia ni eswa de mabrofo. Na bona ye bodam of marry mu anasere. De ye kwaji royalties zo ni akwaji 5%. Na omukwa san sa deal na. Nti aya omonom kwan de. Ukwa san deal na wo de kandi fufuo. To boss hwe nkwan se de wono wa akoma no. Wo wi akotra ho obeka nyansem. when tell me flick in a pond. Also on Tias say yeah oil. You less than 10%. Yeah, crude oil yeah man here to know. You less than 10%. God ne yeah my so. You 5%. Inti obesa no say inti ye 30% ne 40% na. Enye ya na. Enipa no pa de no. Ubo no percentage bia na o de be ma. But for goodness sake, ubenya Ghana ni aba what na say oh my any na population na akari na oh my 5%. Anya say oni say 5% mi no mi enya bi. E yo politicians na ekwa go tedi. Look, sa nonsense no say you find the say stop it. Now say they got 12%. Now you a friend say Nimon Ghana, Anglo Ghana, go face what's my warning. Say, yes, sir. Ghana will be the expensive mining country. Jesus Christ. Ah, yeah, good no. Who be shame Ramasa? Now for the first place, NKG the right percentage. Debut na any man idea mining. Yeah, Jimmy got to be money idea. Okay, Ghana company so there. Who the Ghana near over say no. Captain Shikran near Tombokar. Before 2022, Ghana's oldest and only active bauxite mine, located in Awasu in the Western North region, was owned and operated by the Chinese Bauxite Mineral Group. In 2022, as deputy ranking member of the Lands and Forestry Committee of Parliament, I was deeply involved in ratifying a new 30-year mining lease. He said the mom wants a few years old. Ba ne the year kakaka the mom. Nkwasumana ne gusu ayesum. This lease was granted to a Ghanaian company, the Ofori Poku Company Limited, after it acquired 80% of the shares previously held by the Chinese Bauxite Minerals Group. In 2024, under Ghanaian ownership, the company reportedly achieved a historic production of 1.8 million metric tons, the mine's highest output in 80 years of operation. Okay? I say a road contract near the China for still one bank was a coin. Nanyana mine on Fasubi. Yadema Ghana for ye as if say ye intimi nebia Ghana. Meanwhile, so all the Ghana for most of the time they prove you right, they prove you wrong. Ofori Poku, ne company na ne two boss side no. You see historical figures 1.8 million metric tons of bauxite. The highest for 80 years of operation. But China for 90 the same thing. Why? I didn't know. Why is this significant? Before the Ofori Poku Company Limited acquired Ghana Bauxite Company in 2022, it had been contracted by the Chinese firm Bauxite Mineral Group to manage mining operations since 2010. Let me say, ono mo yeduma for 12 years. Ono na to say the Ibrahim Mahama. And then oko Damang Mine no O2 Edema go face for no. Doesn't this resemble the situation at the Damang Mine, where E&P has been doing the same for Goldfields for several years? While the two cases may appear similar, what was most striking in the case of Ghana Bauxite was that Mr. Isaac Ofori Poku served as board chairman for Ghana Bauxite Company, while it was operated by the Chinese-owned Bauxite Minerals Group. At that time, the company failed to secure a lease renewal from the government. After the lease expired, however, immediately after Bauxite sold to the Ofori Poku Company Limited, a new lease was issued and ratified for the new company. I believe the justification given for that transaction could not be more valid and applicable in the case of Damang Mine acquisition, unless the only difference is that Ibrahim Mahama does not sound like Ofori Poku. Dear Deputy Road Minister Eka Nana said, say ABC with a Chinese company, Emma Ghanaian company, and O2 boss at the man for 12 good years. In 2022, overtaking over. In 2024, no, I recorded 1.8 million metric tons of bauxite. And now I successful. I'm a Ghana for the past 80 years. So mining bauxite mining site now, almost to 1.8 million metric tons a day. But what baby? Are there never been to me see with engineers and planners Ibrahim Mahama? Why are we always fighting to be enemies? Are there not young person Ghana? Say Nebra President Tiana. Separate Ibrahim Mahama from John Dramani Mahama. Mumo be any juma. Near was qualified and unqualified. Or was the kind of betimaye and on timinye. Instead of us to use that energy to be talking about President saying Anna Ghana Yenya. Adena Ghana yen only a bigger share. You people are discussing nonsense. More discussing conflict of interest. When we should be talking about 10 years in the womb. Open bro, only one they go to. Now be asking for what you are getting back. Let's set our priorities right. Now, way anema otumfo or say to 2 the second. And maybe a term or car say, Mama ya Ghana for no omuntu. Na beboye. Na zikananka. Ya yango rebe gold no. Na yemfa bi mo community. Na Ghana for no na zikananka my na.
They say mine no see the mo bia Ghana for ni any kind farmer no ni abrofo be partner ya partner na sika no nka say obi gas South Africa Johannesburg aye ye gold woman na wo ye nyina ye South Africa for na ye enti so obo ase na ke de ma ye na bibifo ebisa na ye so ye de kwaji sika se de omo kan ya kreatifo akosua mining engineering ni ye nyina enti fo mu mu nye eno na ne was eno ne asema da ho e was ye hwe ne any constitution review committee no hwe sa provision na wo constitution na egomo no ye hunu ko ye de be fa so western region western north e wo nyina mines wo ho go na ho no nti o mu ntimi inform company me yemfa ma before ne yemfa nkopebusi amba ma yema e hofo no nyina anya adwuma na sika no so nka Ghana eno answer geological survey and minerals commission wo ntimi ye survey hu ba bia deposit ne wo prepare de no to ho ma ye na chese obi braba say na tie one na ka ne hu say ha na deposit wo ha na deposit ha it is a offense was as so a wo ye hu o ne na ka wo he fast as so a ne hu ne ti basa no be kwa traditional council wanya bi the oba nso wanya bi na royalty na ye den equity na wo mu a wo so nya na da ho afebo ma mo dididie no royalty na ye ni abra ye ka ho.
And will you prefer say Heath Goldfields for ebe take over na anya Ibrahim Mahama na and Vortex for no ebe take over na anya Ibrahim Mahama na. There were only 2 companies I Ghana for the home 4 companies in Engineers and Planners Anna Maripoma. Ebu bia de nya bia nka mepene so. De Ghana ni nkwa de mepene so. Ya na yeti mam se ukro mpete edi wunama ebika. But eduru hankwa de na yerefi. Edi umpeo. Ibrahim Mahama Engineers and Planners has scored the highest points 93.15% as secure Damang mines after the tendering committee etnase no out of 4 mining companies Engineers and Planners enenya the highest points enti ene ono ane oni Damang mines eduma no enche ebe start. Are you happy? And are you part of those who believe say a conflict of interest? Are you happy say a Ghana ni ana anya adwuma no eba beye? And with the history of Ibrahim Mahama, Jata Cement, ni philanthropic work, any other businesses apapan no, who believe say obetima ye adwuma no, and I say osi ontime ye adwuma no. Fatu comment section as mami. Let's get interactive. While we are subscribing, like it, na say ema unyasu enyebi ewe. Max billion, I will naked to old Boga Trends Macau. Bye bye.